What incredible stuff we've heard from Joe earlier. And now we have another special treat for all of you. This wasn't on the schedule, but we got a chance to talk to one of the early members of a React Native team and React in general, right? We got Pieter De Baets here. Pieter, you want to tell folks a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a software engineer on the React team in London. This is actually my second stint on the React team. I joined early after it was open source originally as an iOS engineer. I was doing work on the Facebook app for iOS, and they pulled me in to actually make React Native work in the Facebook for iOS app. But I stuck around, ended up working on our sort of mobile JS infrastructure. Afterwards, I actually ended up going to build a React product myself. I hadn't done React before, which brought me to the land of VR, where we actually used React to actually build immersive VR applications. After that, we came back and we ended up working on a React-specific framework for VR. And as React Native matured, we figured out we can actually just use upstream React Native now. We don't need this custom fork anymore. So I unforked all of that, got me pulled back right into the React team, and here I am today.
Amazing. And me and Pieter work closely at the same office in London, obviously. So I know a lot about your work and a lot about the stuff that we're going to talk about now. But I think that just before that, I'm going to give our audience a little rundown on React Native itself, because I know that a lot of our people in the audience are React web developers. And basically, React Native is just like React Web. It's basically React Web, but it renders to native views on the phone as if it was a normal app, right?
Exactly. It's something we have to reinforce all the time. React Native is not a web view. There's no web components involved. You can actually, if you want to, you can pull in a web view, and there's some really cool things that Expo has done in terms of mixing and matching between web and native, but it's all native components. And you can also means if Apple or Google build new native UI components, you can just pull that right into your native application and users won't tell the difference.
Yeah, and tomorrow we're doing the React Native keynote, so we'll see some examples of work Expo's been doing and a few others on actually bringing things like liquid glass and stuff like that, which was, it's just using what Apple is giving us. And yeah, cool. So you've been on the React Native project for quite a while, right? And this year we're celebrating 10 years.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's been amazing seeing it go from a scrappy proof of concept of look, we can actually take this React thing and enable web developers to contribute to native apps, because that was the big skills gap. That one of the reasons React Native got started in the first place. We need to shift to mobile. This company, Facebook, needs to build mobile apps now, and we had all these front-end developers how do I help this thing? And so we brought this whole new audience to the mobile market, to this point where it's a cross-platform mobile foundation. We are so much better aligned with all of the behaviors that React on web does. One of the key things about the new architecture when we introduced that was now we can actually implement React correctly on native, where it kind of before it was close enough but not really the same thing,
right.
Which unlocks a whole bunch of new things like code sharing, etc.
Yeah, and we're going to see a lot of examples of that tomorrow. So if you're interested in React Native, or really how you can bring some of your existing code base into mobile apps, then stay tuned for tomorrow. But you mentioned VR earlier. Do you want to tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, so we've used React for the longest time on VR. There's this great tweet we actually got printed out in our office by John Carmack saying it turns out that React for UI development, or even for in-game UI, not that bad of an idea. And coming from Carmack, that's high praise. So we kept that one printed out. So from the very early days where we were building these UIs in-game, because we always wanted to add that social angle to VR and to these VR applications, and that meant you need that type of UI that we always craft. We found that React is a really great way to accelerate that type of UI development. So we started off with something custom because it needed to run within an existing game engine, and you can't really just pull in Android UI into that. But then because what we're building with Quest is all Android-based, right now we're just using React Native Android, but we're adding custom enhancement there. We're focusing on things that are really people are sensitive to on these platforms. For example, in a gaze-based operating system, or on a focus-based operating system, it's really important that when a user hovers over an element, that feedback is immediate, that you get a little controller feedback when you're starting to hover over it. So we've built specific abstractions for that to make that fast. And we're also like we already had React Native apps from third parties on our platform working really well, but it's really cool to see Expo has now announced like first class support for VR as a platform.
Yeah.
You can just like use your Quest headset to scan a QR code and open it up with Expo Go. So it's really cool to see that, like seeing us like bringing React, like bringing more developers to that platform using React.
Right, and you, since you've been at the project on the project so long, what are your thoughts for the future of all of this?
Yeah, there's so much cool stuff that we're now enabling with the new architecture, like by having that common stack, by looking more at the web in terms of like how do we shape these new IDs. It's giving us like a really powerful foundation to like build out the next step. I'm really excited about like all of the opportunities for AI to help accelerate that type of development, but then the job for us even becomes more important to help craft like the right abstractions to enable AI to build smart component and not allow you to like shoot yourself in the foot too quickly. So I'm really excited about like the performance tooling we're building around that, and making it easy for people to reason about what React is doing, getting people to use the modern React APIs like transitions and suspense more efficiently. So yeah, I think what Rick was sharing earlier today about like we've built all of these great abstractions. Now is actually the challenge is like how do we make these accessible to people? How do we make sure that they're using them successfully?
Well, sure. At the end of the day, it's all about the people using this stuff, and obviously React Native has a pretty big and diverse community, and we've seen in the foundation announcement that a lot of the companies are actually taking ownership of the foundation and the future of React are React Native companies, and I just thought it was interesting to see that. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I'm really excited that we can finally give these companies like a formal seat at the table. And like we're still figuring out what that's going to look like in terms of technical ownership and technical governance. But the promise of that foundation is that like we want to get there. We're going to solve that. And it's not we don't want things to stay as they are right now. I've really enjoyed like part of my day job is to look at the PRs we get coming in and seeing like, does this make sense for us to pull in? How do I help shape companies or help to shape developers to do that? And right now, the granularity of those things we can pick in on an ad hoc basis is quite small. It's really hard to like get external companies to like build large subsystems for us. And so I'm hoping by like having more upfront alignment, having more like technical alignment with external companies, that we can actually get them to build and take ownership of larger pieces of React Native and help us scale up the development of it.
Yeah, and we definitely have the foundation for that now. Sorry, I had to make that stupid joke. Okay, Peter, is there any final thoughts or anything else you'd like to share with our folks at home?
Like for all the time I've been on React and React Native related teams, this is my first time at ReactConf. So yeah,
No way, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm really enjoying it here. It's a fantastic venue, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the talks.
Amazing, and thank you so much, Peter. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the conference. Thank you for joining us today.
Jorge.
And live stream, folks, just so you know, we have a full-packed schedule and plan for you still. A few more talks, and we'll be back for more interviews later today. But for now, we'll take a little break, and thank you so much for joining us. See you later.